You know that feeling when you're just endlessly scrolling online and then bam, a single, totally random image just completely short circuits your brain? I mean, it's this crazy phenomenon that's so unique to right now. You've got this two-dimensional, pixelated image on a screen, but somehow it reaches right through and it literally hijacks your entire psychological reality. So what actually happens when a simple, everyday act of looking at something online spirals into this profound, honestly kind of terrifying internal obsession? Well, that is exactly what we are going to unpack today.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to put on our digital anthropologist hats and deconstruct a really raw, frankly fascinating piece of internet poetry. It's a stream of consciousness text by Bananda Das called Shall I Keep Your Image? Now, on the surface, yeah, it might just read like some chaotic late-night rambling, but when we actually break it down, it reveals this incredibly intricate step-by-step blueprint of modern digital infatuation. We're literally going to map out the exact anatomy of an obsession. Okay, let's dive right into this. To make sense of it all, we're going to hit three main points today. First, the digital catalyst, then the architecture of a fantasy, and finally, the loop of obsession.
All right, starting off with part one, the digital catalyst.
The text kicks off with this incredibly jarring, visceral line, receive your image from internet. Think about that for a second. It's such a passive, cold, purely technological event, right? But then, the very next phrase triggers this immediate, intensely physical reaction. There is absolutely zero buffer here. None. It goes straight from a digital input on a screen to a profound physiological response. The boundary between the phone and the physical body just vanishes in a split second.
This brilliantly highlights the alarming speed of the speaker's psychological freefall. I mean, look at how fast this moves. We go straight from step one, just casually seeing a picture online, to step two, which is this hyperactive, invasive investigation, right into step three, a sudden declaration of lifelong commitment. I want to marry you. There's no dating, no chatting, absolutely no reality testing happening here. The speaker just rockets from zero to marriage at breakneck speed, and it's driven 100% by the momentum of their own isolated imagination.
Let's see how this actually builds in the text. Searching your name, searching your address. When you view this objectively as a study of human behavior, it is just fascinating. The completely mundane, everyday act of Googling someone, which, let's be honest, we all do, morphs here into this intense, hyper-focused pursuit. Notice the repetition of the word searching there? It really emphasizes this frantic, almost desperate need to anchor this digital phantom to a physical reality. It's like they're desperately trying to find real-world geographic coordinates for a feeling. Which brings us to part two, the architecture of a fantasy. Guys, the level of psychological projection happening here is just staggering. The speaker isn't just, imagining a fun personality for this picture. They are claiming a literal psychic connection. They say, I'm listening to your heart turning to your thoughts. They have completely convinced themselves that they share a profound two-way intimacy with a total stranger. This is way past a simple internet crush. It's a complete erasure of boundaries, where the speaker genuinely believes they have total access to the inner life of an internet image. So the crucial point here is the massive, honestly, almost comical gap between the reality and the projection. In reality, what do we have? We have a stark, pixelated event, an image received on the internet. But over in the speaker's fantasy, we've got this bizarrely specific, cosmic narrative. They write, you must be an American with dreams of space, work in films about space. Like, why space? Why films? Well, the specifics don't actually matter. What matters is that the speaker's mind requires this grand, cinematic universe just to justify the absolute intensity of their feelings. They're literally writing an entire movie script for a stranger. And the scary part? This fantasy is no longer safely contained behind the screen. It has entirely hijacked the speaker's physical reality. Their internal narrative is now dictating their actual day-to-day schedule. They say, time passes away thinking about you, waking early in the morning dreaming about you. The obsession is just devouring their waking hours, their sleep, even their basic perception of time itself. That random digital image has effectively become the sun around which their actual physical life is now forced to orbit. Now let's move into part three, the loop of obsession. Now, what's really interesting about this is that in this incredibly brief text, the specific phrase, shall I keep your image, is repeated a staggering 8 times. 8!
It functions as the structural drumbeat of the whole obsession. It's this agonizing question the speaker just cannot answer. It totally represents their paralysis. They're caught endlessly in this loop between the burning desire to hold on to the fantasy and that deep-seated, creeping panic of knowing none of it is actually real.
And pushing right back against that hesitation is another relentless drumbeat. 5. The physical mantra, your eyes, your lips, your smile, appears exactly 5 times. It's wild because every single time the speaker's brain tries to rationalize, every time they ask themselves, shall I keep your image, this physical mantra just yanks them right back down. It acts like this inescapable gravitational pull, grounding all those wild cosmic delusions right back into the imagined physical features of their target. But eventually, as you'd expect, the loop starts to break down. The internal dilemma begins to visibly fracture right there on the page. We see the text shift from that familiar question to, shall I keep going in this? Suddenly, the speaker is self-aware. They're looking at the elaborate space film fantasy, the early mornings, the frantic internet searching, and a sudden moment of clarity just pierces through. They are genuinely asking themselves if they should continue indulging in this absolute madness. And from there, the panic really accelerates. The texts get shorter. Shall I keep going? It's like the pacing of the words is audibly mimicking the speaker's racing thoughts. They are staring straight down the rabbit hole of their own mind, realizing exactly how deep they've fallen. You can feel the sentences start to clip rapidly as the anxiety just fully takes over. Further and further it breaks down. Shall I go? The language itself is just disintegrating into this desperate, fragmented plea. It is a pure, distilled moment of hesitation. Do I abandon this fantasy? Do I just delete the image? Can I walk away from this entire false reality I've built? The tension right here is at its absolute peak. And then we get this. Oh yeah, heat. A totally sudden, bizarre, and purely sensory ending. There's no resolution. There's absolutely no logical conclusion to the dilemma. The intellectual struggle just completely collapses, and it's replaced by this raw, meaningless, simmering sensation. The conflict is left totally unresolved, which kind of suggests that the speaker hasn't broken the loop at all. Instead, they've just completely surrendered to the visceral fever of the obsession. It is such a wildly fascinating look into the vulnerability of the modern mind. Think about it. We are all walking around every single day with devices in our pockets that can deliver a digital catalyst at any given moment. And as we've seen from this text, it takes almost nothing to trigger an elaborate, time-consuming, and totally reality-bending fantasy. Which really leaves us with one final thought to consider today. If a single silent internet image has the power to completely rewrite our reality and hijack our daily lives, are we ever truly safe from the danger of our own projections? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.